Hello friends, good evening once again, and today we'll be talking again about Yogananda's wisdom and carrying forward this series. Today we'll be talking where Master is saying that this whole creation of God is nothing but a kind of dream. And let me read it from this book when he says that in a movie the action seems very real. If you look up to the projection booth, however, you will see that the whole story is being produced by a single beam of light. That is how it is in this great movie of creation. God said, "Let there be light." Out of the great beam of cosmic light was manifested the entire universe. It is a cosmic movie, in many ways like the one in the movie theatre. Much of the difference is in degrees. In the movie theatre, what you behold is two-dimensional and is true only to the senses of sight and sound, whereas the cosmic movie is three-dimensional and is true also to the senses of taste, smell and touch. The movie you see in the movie theatre may move you to laughter and tears. How much more compelling then is God's movie, involving as it does the sense of depth, and not two senses only but five. This life, however, is no more real than a movie. So you see, this is what we have chosen for this evening's discussion. And let me just discuss with you how our teacher Swami Kriyananda has elaborated this creation of God, and he has discussed this many times, that how God, who is an absolute consciousness, and how he created the universe, and in this creation, he produced the universe from himself, and so he had his own consciousness. He took a part of it, and he vibrated that consciousness into thoughts. Because just like whatever we plan and do in our lives, first of all we have to think about that and plan about that thing. So whatever God created, first he had to think all those things in thoughts, and then he vibrated those thoughts into energy, and so the same things took up the forms of light, and finally those light forms, when they were given more energy, they got condensed into the physical forms, and we got the physical universe as we see around. So you see, God created this universe in three stages, coming from thoughts, then to energy, and finally to the physical form. And we can also see through this example that, let us say we have steam, and you condense the steam, so you get water. And if you condense the water further, you get the ice, which is the physical form of the same water. Although the form changes, but the initial and the inherent ingredient between all these forms within the steam, water and ice is the same water. Similarly, the creation of God, that God himself has become all these, whether we see birds and animals or minerals and rocks, it is nothing but God's consciousness vibrating at different frequencies, and so we get this glimpse of the world around. And just because, why Master is saying that he's comparing, the creation of the God, who he says that it is like a cosmic movie, and he's saying that since you go to movie theaters and when you look up in the projection booth, the same light is creating all the images. So similarly, it is God's light which is creating this spectacle before us, and it becomes too involving. The movie is true to five senses, unlike the other movie that we see, which is true only to two senses. But then the creation itself, God, just like when we have a movie, we have different characters playing different roles, and just like let us say if we have a play and somebody is directing a play, so he has to have different characters. Somebody becomes a king, someone is a gatekeeper, someone is a common man, and you see all these characters they perform their different roles to the best of abilities as per the direction of the director. And so this movie that we are a part of it, this movie in which we are seeing all these characters around us, but we are not only a spectator in this cosmic movie show, but we are also a character and we are also participating. So how does this movie, how it is different, and what are the learning points? What is God trying to show us here? And so you see, Pastor repeatedly highlighted that do not take this life too seriously, and this is how Swami Kriyananda used to sometimes tell us that this is a Leela of God. This is a show that God is projecting through the cosmic booth. And sometimes when we too much we become we cling to all the day-to-day affairs of our lives, where we sometimes the roles keep changing, the experiences keep changing, and sometimes we get so distraught with the painful experiences that we become quite dejected, and we sometimes start suffering in this show. And that is why masters come again and again to wake us up that please don't get too much involved in this show, because it is all a dream, and it is and what is then the purpose of this dream? And Master said that the purpose are twofolds. One is that he wants to teach us something, and he also wants us to entertain. Education and entertainment, these are the two reasons why he has created this show. So now let us see what are the learning points that we can have in this show of his. So one will say that okay, if it is a dream, then people can behave anyway, but then Master said no, since it is a cosmic dream, it doesn't mean that we can start behaving irresponsibly, because if we will do that, then we will have to have our dream punishments also, because they have been programmed like that. So yes, when we do good, when we perform our roles to the best of our capacity, we get dream rewards. But then if we do not perform up to the mark, sometimes we have to have dream sufferings too. But then what is the inherent idea? Why an inherent goal in this cosmic show is that we have to start looking beyond those punishments and rewards. And sometimes when we get too attached to the characters, sometimes let us say we take up a particular body and we come in a particular family, and if we get too attached to the family members, or we start getting too attached to our friends and children, sometimes when they leave us, or when they sometimes as it always happens, some people come in this world and some people leave, then if we are too attached, then it can be too much painful for us to bear this pain. But then God is trying to show us through this dream that it is He alone who is coming in these different characters, and it is our primary duty to see that who is behind these different wheels, those who come, and it is He personally, who takes care of us as our friends, or sometimes as our parents. Sometimes He comes and loves us as in form of children. But then all these different forms are not they are immaterial if we do not look at the one reality which is behind all these characters. So that is the highest purpose of creating this dream, because sometimes God is trying to tell us that this is not your permanent place. Your permanent place is in me. God is God's abode, as we call, and God Himself, because we have all come from Him, and our permanent home is always going to be in Him alone. So you see, this is one lesson which God wants to show us. But at the same time, sometimes we have to play different roles, and sometimes people start thinking, oh, let us say somebody is a king, performing a role of a king in a particular play, and even when the play is over and this king goes back to this performer goes back to home, but this idea of performing as a king stays back in his mind, and he starts thinking that he is the real king, then it can be very absurd, and he can start other people also may start feeling that can't you see that it was all play, and you're carrying the same memory now? Don't you realize that role was only for that play? So you see, sometimes when we come here and we get attached to our positions, or sometimes we get attached to our possessions, that is like clinging to the particular role that God has given to us, and suddenly when the role changes, when the God says that okay, your role is now changing, now you have to perform like this, and then it becomes painful if we are attached. But if we can say gracefully that, okay, yes, God, I came into this world for you, and you have created me, and finally, whatever role you will give me, I will joyfully do that, irrespective of whatever is the character that you will ask me to play. So it becomes very joyful in that sense, and we have no sufferings, in that regard. And one more lesson, sometimes which probably I think that one can learn if we see the whole creation as dream, is that that each character, sometimes people say that, oh, God doesn't love me, and we perhaps I'm God has forsaken me, and I'm such a performing such a menial task, and so probably He doesn't love me. So those thoughts, when they start coming to us, so that is we have masters, they always tell us that God, since He's playing all these characters Himself, so He has not created even a small little thing just for no purpose. And Kriyanandaji always used to tell us that He has created everything, everyone, for a specific purpose, for a specific destiny, and that will flower when we ask God that, yes, what do you want me to do? You are the director of the show, and as an actor, what is how can I perform this role to the best of my ability? So when we ask God, when we start our day like that, it becomes very fulfilling. So with that, I would like to give you one homework also for the coming week, and this homework is very simple. That as you go to your beds, tonight, you can start this from tonight, that whatever things, you close your eyes, and when you're going to sleep, just feel in your heart that what is that thing, if let us say God asks you to leave that thing, what do you think? You won't be able to leave that, or you will be, it will create some pain, some kind of pain in your heart, if let us say God asks you to leave. So, and when you think about all those things, whether they are your positions or your possessions or your family members to whom you are attached, create a mental bonfire and see that one by one you burn all those attachments, those strings which are attaching you to all these things and relationships. These attachments are burning in that mental bonfire, and you offer, when you see that these attachments are all over, you see that your heart is completely free. And then when you are going to sleep, just offer that pure heart to God, that yes, God, I belong to you, and I don't belong to this world, and I would like to come to you whenever you will call me back. And the next part of this homework is that when you wake up early in the morning, and so be grateful to God that He has given you one more day to apply, to see that yes, to understand this life, to learn the lessons. And so don't, whenever you wake up just in the morning, see that this is a great opportunity for you, that God has given you one more day, and where we can learn our lessons, we can apply these teachings and see and love God in all the characters, wherever He is. And this reminds me of Bhagavad Gita saying that Krishna says that one who sees me in everyone and in everything, he's never out of sight of me, and I am never out of sight for Him. So you see, when we start practicing and start looking at this universe as a dream nature, as a cosmic dream, this life can become meaningful to you, and not only meaningful, it will bring a lot of enthusiasm and joy from day to day. Joy.